let Steffi jump in. Y'all jump in on that. We're back to where we're supposed to be, Steffi, on Tyrion and Jamie and how Tyrion just basically gave his life for the city.
I just
Um,
want to say something really quickly before you go, if you don't mind, Steph. Is that when Tyrion did, try one more time to save Jamie and to help his family stay alive somehow, and even I think he was probably thinking of the baby too, just that he doesn't want to let another one of Cersei's children die, because he did feel horrible about Marcella and Tommen especially. But what I'm what you just made me think of, Nan, is when when I just lost my train of thought. Sorry. When Tyrion did that, that kind of sealed his fate too, because Jamie was let out. I don't know how he was so perfectly guarded and all, but he got out, and Daenerys is gonna know that her prisoner is gone. So who else would have done that but his brother, who the Unsullied all saw going into the tent? So when Jamie got out, it was kind of like a sealing of Tyrion's fate too. And Tyrion thinking of, the whole Mad King killing Rhaegar's children, all of that stuff has been brought up this season too. And the killing of children, I think, is something that Tyrion can't stomach very well, as just as much as Ned couldn't. So there was something else I was going to say, but I forgot. So go ahead, Steph, and I'll remember it.
oh, my mic was on. Okay. So right before the scene, we have a Tyrion versus Dany thing. I'd like to say I do like that scenic shot of him in front of the throne. I do believe that harkens back to Varys, and even small men cast large shadows, right? Because he's in front of Dany, right? I like that scene. Um, I find it very stupid that Dany puts the blame on Tyrion for the actions of his brother, when we basically do the same to Dany and Ares and her entire family history, right? So I just found that very stupid, and she does threaten to kill Tyrion. So again, I think we brought this up that maybe Tyrion is dead, but in that moment, she has a choice on whether to keep oaths or to break oaths, and that's, to me, Jamie was never on a redemption arc per se. It was more like he prioritized his oaths at every single scenario. It's either it was family, or it was the innocent, or it was honor and duty and whatever, right? Like the weakness, the children, what have you. And I feel like that was Dany's choice that she broke in that moment. So I don't like that. What else did I put here? Tyrion asked Davos to smuggle Jamie and Cersei out of King's Landing. Why the fuck would you even ask that when basically the problem that you're in right now is Dany and Viserys being smuggled away from King's Landing to Pentos? Like, you're an idiot. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna start this whole thing all over again? Like, god damn it. They made Tyrion so stupid in this scene, right? And Davos doesn't do it in the battle. You see him; he's just like again, like where's your sword, buddy? But like he's just huddling in a corner, not giving two shits. Like, wasn't he supposed to be at the bottom anyways? Like, it was just stupid. Like why start this off the same way, right? Like, what is George R. R. Martin's next book going to be about the Lannisters and them trying to retake the kingdom? So stupid. We brought this up before. Weak soldiers just step aside, right? For Tyrion, right? Again, there's no loyalty to Dany. It's just scared shitless because of her dragons. That's it, right? They're like, oh, you're higher than me, okay? Like, it's just so stupid, right? Like, no loyalty. You don't question it. Like, you're talking about the men who watched Jamie knew that they could get beaten with a rock in their head, and they would never step aside because they were doing it for Rob, and they loved Rob, and they did it for the right reasons. They did fear him. They did fear his direwolf biting a finger off of them, but they stayed there. They stayed there because they loved him at the end of the day, and they don't love Danny. I like the scene where Jamie lifts his hand because that's his honor. That's Brienne, and that's not who he is in this moment. He has both hands, right? So I like that scene. And he does it throughout the episode too. I just liked it, right? He's showing his hand, but it's not working, right? It shows that power eventually fades if you're not with the person that you're supposed to be with. Again, Tyrion tells them about the bell.
Yeah.
Shame, shame, shame. Tysha, Tysha, Tysha. Where do whores go? Oh, she probably exploded in King's Landing, right? So who cares about that?
Oh God! Oh, that's so sad. That's horrible. Oh God! And he never will know what that Tysha wasn't. Oh, it just kills me. He'll never know about Tysha.
I want to know where whores go. Where's Tysha? I'll be your friend.
I do too.
She's probably the most sensible person in the entire series too. Like if we do get a scene of her, she's probably going to be like the most common sense person in this entire book.
She's dead.
It's so true.
His mother and Penny's mother's dead. You know.
Oh,
there's that whole thing.
Tysha was Tyrion's first wife. That's who we were talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
But Penny could be Tyrion's kid.
Daughter by Tysha.
Oh, no, Tysha, no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I talked about that in one of our previous.
Yeah, you're right, Cynthia. Yeah, you're right, Cynthia. Penny was Tysha's kid. That's the running theory, anyway.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. Yeah.
Right, the theory, anyways. Yeah. But that if he diddles with Penny, he's diddling with his daughter, which is really gross and Targaryen-esque, right?
And I don't know. And I don't know who started that one. That's not an original. We didn't start that one. That's old one.
No, we didn't.
Old theory.
Okay,
I wanted to say, are you done? Or do you have one more? Okay, go ahead.
One more point. Okay, so I'm going to read a line that Tyrion says. If it weren't for you, I never would have survived my childhood. Now, obviously we can pick out Cersei and twisting his his dinky and stuff it's all so juvenile about the subject. But it brings up the question of quantity versus quality, right? Has Tyrion had a good life? Has he really had a good life? He's drank himself silly, right? He's got the love of his life torn away from him. It's almost like it would have been a mercy, which is harkens back to Dany's scene, right? Where with Tyrion, where she says, mercy is a weakness, right? So it kind of goes back to that, right? Would it be better if Tyrion was dead? And again, where do whores go? And Tyrion, when he was talking to Jaime, is already talking to him in the past tense. He's I had a good brother, right? He already pictures him
I
dead.
didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
And Brienne was right.
That's cool.
She told him they were going to burn that city to the ground. Brienne said that to Jaime. And he went down with a ship, that's for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. And that, that's what this whole thing with the Valonqar and with, the prince who was promised and Aemon saying, oh, we got it wrong. It was a princess. I think maybe now we're starting to see George's idea of prophecies being something you can't depend on. They'll come back and bite you, put it in a nicer way. That these prophecies may be like a different part of what this person says. So like Mary Mazdur's prophecy might have been a little bit more of something she said at another time, not when we think she was giving a prophecy. When Maggie the Frog gives the prophecy to Circe, maybe it wasn't for Circe. Maybe it was for Lyanna, who was betrothed to Robert at the time. I don't know, but it almost seems like some of these prophecies, or maybe it was something else that Maggie said to her that was the real prophecy for Circe. But the thing I see about it is that we're not reading them right, which I think it might be, or they're for a different person, or they're just from that person's point of view who's giving the prophecy. That this is how
It's
things are going to
red
go.
herring.
It's Melisandre. Huh?
I think they're red herrings. George uses prophecy as red herrings. Throw them in there to direct. That's what I think.
I think some of them are too. I just think that, like, obviously the stallion who mounts the world is true. And that, I guess that is a prophecy, but it's part of what Mary Mazdur said is that that he will burn no cities to dust, or he will trample no cities to dust now, because she killed Rhaego. But it wasn't Rhaego that would have done that. It was Dany. And maybe it was Mary Mazdur's keening her spells while she was burning, or something she did in the tent or said in the tent that made the dragons be born without, maybe she was saying fuck it all, because now I'm going to be killed and I didn't even want to be here. I would have gotten through this just fine. I'm a god's wife, and the Dothraki are going, don't bring a witch into this tent. Don't let a witch touch our call. And Dany did. So she basically killed Khal Drogo by taking the spoils of war from the Dothraki, and Mago came in and started a fight with Khal Drogo, and poison sword, hits him. So she basically, then bringing Mary Mazdur in, made her trade a life for a life, which might have just been, Rhaego's life for the dragons. Either Mary Mazdur said, burn them all then, just like, she just did. Or she was saying, I'm gonna make it so that you can't have anyone, not Khal Drogo, not your child, no one. Not realizing that the dragon eggs were there or might hatch. I don't know. But I feel like some of these prophecies might just be a little bit like we have to read them differently or something. Because
hold on. Sorry, Ash, we keep interrupting you.
I paused. It's okay.
I do agree
Go
with
ahead.
you. I don't think the prophecies are necessarily for the person that receives the prophecies. It's kind of like Marcaro, right? Where he's on the boat and he's talking about prophecies. He's saying that in general, like you apply it to anybody, right? He's not talking about a specific person. It's almost like these people get information. It's kind of like Melisandre, where she sees the horse, right, the girl on the gray horse, but she doesn't necessarily know who that is. So she's asking questions about it. Like, like Jon Snow, I saw your sister on a gray horse, right? Is this true? Right? Can you tell me? So it's inquisitive.
It is true now.
Could be.
Could be now.
Yeah, I mean,
and that we'll get to that scene later. But Arya being the pale horseman, that's that was out there too. It was a good reference.
I want to say, I want to read The Stallion Who Mounts the World. I just want to say this is for educational purposes, and this is credited to George R.R. Martin's writing. So, and this is from Game of Thrones. So this is the Stallion Who Mounts the World prophecy. As swift as the wind he rides, and behind him his Khalasar covers the earth. Men without number, with arak shining in their hands like blades of razor grass. Fierce as a storm, this prince will be. His enemies will tremble before him, and their wives will weep tears of blood and rend their flesh in grief. The bells in his hair will sing his coming, and the milkmen in the stone tents will fear his name. The prince is riding, and he shall be the stallion who mounts the world. And then Miri Mazdur, after she thinks, well, after she has basically killed Danny's child in the womb, Rhaego, she says, the stallion who mounts the world will burn no cities now. His Khalasar shall trample no nations into dust. And so, obviously, Miri Mazdur didn't accomplish what she wanted to. And the stallion is Danny. The bells in her hair, the bells ringing did sing her coming. And the milkmen in stone tents they will end up fearing her name or hating her name. You know, and the prince is riding. It's all perfect. It perfectly goes with her. So it seems to me like when you say these prophecies or when you see these prophecies, it's like the Khalasar is supposed to be like, you know, Khal Drogo also, or a powerful call riding towards the stars, and the Khalasar is the Milky Way, you know, following him, which is the way I read it from the books anyway, that he's going to his star and the Milky Way is the Khalasar. But Arak shining in their hands like blades of razor grass, that's almost saying she'll bring death to any. She just brought death to King's Landing, and you know, the hoarfrost and the razor grass that's all over Essos will be King's Landing for a long, long time. Like, I was noticing when I was hiking the other day that my canyon burned 25 years ago, and it's just barely growing back. So when you think of how long it takes for something to grow after it's burned, it's kind of amazing how long it takes. So to rebuild that whole city is going to take so much. And it's sad to think about it. But the thing about it is that I find kind of funny is that we celebrated these dragons being born. Like, this was the most magical thing and the most wonderful thing in the world. And then it ends up being what it should have been. Oh my God, these are weapons of mass destruction. And there's a crazy woman that's calling herself their mother. So, I mean, it was obvious at the time, but it seemed like magic was coming back into the world, or whatever you want to say. But we should not have celebrated that, just like Miri Mazdur said. And so sometimes I think these prophecies can give us a sense of what is going to come. So
On a side note, you know, I told you my mom has read the books and all. She's 82, and she really never. She kind of always skipped over the Daenerys prophecies. She showed up here today, and she says, "Well, I think your Dragon Queen's gonna have to go." You know, 82 years old. You know, and she's right. The Dragon Queen gonna have to go.
Oh, I'm gonna jump in on Ash's points. Yeah, when you're talking about like decay, even the historical like destruction that she caused. There's a scene with in the books anyways, with Kat and Rob, and they're at Tristan's something, this gravesite.
Oh, King Tristafur, yeah.
And he can't read what King Tristafur is or whatever, right? Or what a lord it was. And he's trying to riddle it out, but the sword's decayed, the face is decayed. There's nothing there, right, to remember, right? And that's where you kind of like the Citadel, because they do have that information if you need it. But what Danny did, oh my God, like I couldn't even imagine that. Like you're talking about even when like Hitler, like during the war, the Allies, right? He didn't attack France in the heart of the city because he wanted to preserve it, right? So it takes a certain person to have that malice in them, right? To actually destroy history, right? It's kind of like when the Notre Dame burned, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was obviously someone burnt it down, right? Like it had to be someone, right? You're thinking about all the history that has, right? And now you've just destroyed it. Like it was like a whole forest took to build that top roof, and you just destroyed it. Like, are you high, right? Like,
Totally.
it's so
Yeah.
fucking stupid. Like, it's such an unjust leader, and she doesn't deserve any of it,
Nope.
right?
Mm-mm. Totally agree with you there. Do you want to
Well,
say
I
anything,
think the
Nan?
babies. Yeah, I think that the babies, the way she did it, like I said, she had them whooped. She had them all whooped. They'd done surrendered, and she just kept that anger and madness kept building in it. And I've got to say that she did an excellent job of acting. Amelia Clark on that. She was really good at that facial expression of seeing the anger in her face build up and then build up. And then you see Cersei with Qyburn coming in every so often telling her what's going on, and well, we'll be all right, you know. And then when they made it into the Red Keep, you know, that's the only thing that got her out of the Red Keep. She said she would never leave the Red Keep, and she never will.
Right?
Okay, let's get back to topic.
That's
Mm-hmm.
true. She never will. Yeah. Let's see. What was I gonna say? I was going to say that this is kind of the same thing with Melisandre and Cersei both fell into these prophecies, right? Like Melisandre always thought she had it right when she really didn't. And she almost created her own self-fulfilling prophecies too. And Cersei definitely did. She fell victim to that exact thing of the self-fulfilling prophecy. But will Daenerys be exempt from her prophecies? I don't think so. I think they're all coming true. And so, you know, but I think that they all interpret the prophecies wrong, so that Dany will also, you know, most of these characters always in the books and a lot of the time in the show too. Whenever they think something's true, or they think they're going to live, or they think something's going to happen, it happens to the opposite way. So if Dany believes her prophecies and she's so obsessed with them, just like Cersei was, she's going to end up falling victim to the same thing. So thinking she's so mighty by being the stallion who mounts the world, no, the world doesn't want the cities trampled to dust. The people don't want that. You have to think, like, you know, there was all this talk about how the small folk don't care about who rules them. The small folk don't care who sits on the throne. Yes, they do. Where does that craziness come from? I mean, really, that was the worst writing I've ever seen. Like, during the medieval ages, you think they didn't care who sat the throne? Yeah, they did, because that depends on their ability to eat, to farm, to feed their children, to how many taxes they're supposed to pay, where their land ends up. Hell yeah, it means a lot. Do you have something to say, Steph?
I'm agreeing with you completely. I think the small folk do care. I just think in modern society, we are made ignorant. Like you go hiking like I do, so we get to that escapism, right? Like that, like it's like reading a book, right? You get that escape and you want to go live in it, right? You'll never have that kind of libertarian feel where everyone agrees with you and you could eat rainbows and poop butterflies. Like the world doesn't work like that. People are what this episode should have taught you is people are vengeful.
Yeah.
Whether it's the soldier fighting, whether it's the people, whether it's the kings and queens, everyone's vengeful. Everyone hates, right? It's just how
Yep.
you deal with that hatred, right? Danny chose very badly how to deal with that hatred. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
John, I don't know what the hell's going through his head. He should be pissed more than anyone at the Lannisters.
Yep. And
Right? Like you're
Davos
talking.
too.
Oh, okay. So let's jump on a few scenes. Okay, hold on. Where were we? So we got
to Jaime and Cersei, I think. I mean, we didn't do Euron and Jaime yet, but
okay. We got the Iron Fleet, Cersei, King's Landing, Qyburn-esque. The first scene or the first couple scenes. We got the battle, and then Euron and Jaime. Yeah, you're right, Ash. So I forget now where I was. Yeah, the small folk care, basically. Oh, but Davos, that's where we left off. Hold on.
Yeah, Davos. That was it.
Okay, I had a really good point with Davos. I think where everyone thinks that Varys was the person that protects the realm and protects the small folk, I think it's Davos. I think him going to Storm's End and making sure everyone had onions, despite getting his hands cut off, like his fingers cut off, right? I think his love for Shireen proves that. I think his love of the wildlings proves that. Even in this episode, he's helping the small folk flee with the Lannisters, with the Lannister guards. It's just Varys is the new, or Davos is the new Varys, or who should have been Varys, right? And I guess that's a point for John, but I feel like they've really underplayed Davos. Davos is a very important character. Like the fact that he chooses not to go help Cersei and Jaime, right? To ferry them away, right? He stays in the battle with Jon the entire time, proves a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, it does. It's true.
If I may,
Davos,
though,
I love that.
Davos, if I may, Davos knows the streets of King's Landing like the back of his hand, I'm pretty sure. When he was raised there, he talks about it. The where the streets are, where you can get a bowl of brown, this things like that. But he knows where to take the people, how to get them out the safest way. And I think it was very important, and I agree with you, Steffi. It was very important that Davos was there, and they did underplay him somewhat. He was there trying to help all of them escape. And even, Jon, it took Jon longer than I thought it should have for him to call the retreat. I thought he should have called the retreat before that. It took him a while to understand that she was really going nuts on the city. And it was to the point where she was getting pretty close to him and his men. And at one point I thought, she's going to wipe out Jon too, and his men too. Because they were separated at that one point, and that was not until I think it occurred to him that she could kill him as well and his people, and they decided to flee as well. But yeah, I got the vibe that she was very much would have taken Jon out in that battle at that time.
I completely agree with you. This is where the love is the death of duty comes in, Love is the death of duty. Maester Aemon must have said that 4 times to Sam and to Jon. And both times I think he said, neither of you listened to me. And Jon didn't. Like, he thinks that, there's that scene where he wants to go fight with Robb, and Maester Aemon tells him the story of Egg and how he had to make a decision. And what would Lord Stark do? What do you think he would do when faced with love of his family or honor? And Jon said he would do the right thing. And Maester Aemon says something like, well, then he's 1 in 10,000 men, because most of us wouldn't do that. Love love is the death of duty. What is a sword when compared to the feel of a newborn babe in your arms? What is honor compared to the love of a woman? So this is the love is the death of duty. I think John was so completely blinded by her. Like they said, she was too strong for him in a lot of ways, and in other ways I think she made him a little bit sick, kind of like he was with I mean, he was even like that with Stannis in the books with Mance a little bit. Like sometimes they would just sicken him the way that they were so hell bent on, killing their enemies and just wiping people out. Not really necessarily Mance, but I there was a moment there where Mance sort of upset him. But he's definitely gotten hardened, and I don't think they've done a good enough job of building his character up to show that, he's kind of, to me, it looked like he was completely in PTSD trauma land. That's where John was living in that moment, and he was numb. Arya was too, and he's the great hero, and she's the great hero and the great fighter, and it didn't, against a dragon, it doesn't matter, and against, I guess, the love of a woman.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in there. I was going crazy. I was like trying to tap you out so many times. I was just like, let me go. Okay, again, John is the runt of the litter, right? Like he's not supposed to be there, right? He's not supposed to have that power, right? What is it? There was when it comes to trauma, there was a little boy and a little girl that they happened to show, and I really liked the way that they Dan and Dave actually tried to show the small folk with Nora and her daughter and everything like that. They did try to show that aspect. And these kids are looking and they're like, oh my God, I just watched my mother get her throat slit. And the boy's like, oh my God, I just watched this guy burn to death alive. And they're like looking and they're like, what the hell am I going to do? And I do feel like that. John is traumatized. And it does go to PTSD where like maybe it's more on site where it's like a shock syndrome. You almost wonder if they're gonna have, like, especially Arya had her head twice in this season, right? She hit her head during the whites, the battle with the others, and then she hit her head again this one, and she was feeling the same exact spot. So you almost wonder if she's gonna have a memory loss, or almost like a memory, like when you hear gunshots, like you go crazy. It's almost like she's going to experience that, where she's not going to be present. And that's kind of like where it goes to Bran, where he's like, you shouldn't be happy for me. I live in the past mostly, right? With Tyrion. So I kind of get that feeling with this episode. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be looking at the past, traumatized by this. I for the Iron Fleet, there was a huge part that I fucking hated with this scene. If Dany would have pulled the maneuvers that she did in this episode, would Missandei have died? Would Rhaegal have died? Would, like, there's so many ifs, ands, and buts to these people. Like, no one would have died. I think the Scorpions, Euron telling the boats to turn around. Aren't these Scorpions on swivels? Like, it's basically my chair where I can swivel side to side, right? You're on a swivel. Like, why are you turning your boats around to shoot these people? I do find it stupid that these Scorpions had an amazing accuracy to hit Rhaegal, who is like a fraction of the size of Drogon. That was stupid. I do like how they showed that Daenerys learned from the Night's King this episode, where she was up in the clouds, right? And then she knocked down the wall for that her men to enter. I also liked how where they entered, it was where Missandei was killed. Oh, Cynthia, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was agreeing with you. That's exactly right. I agree. Um, Go ahead, keep going.
So I'm gonna rush through my points. The first scene of Cersei does look pregnant. She looks at roughly 4 months pregnant. So there's been a good time gap in the show. So she's definitely pregnant. Like, you can see it in her. She's also even cradling it, and it's kind of further out of her normal, like, flat body. Cersei's standpoint, like her tactical knowledge on this, you could see how much Tywin didn't know. Like, how much he knew nothing of dragons, right? Despite like 200 years of Westeros history dealing with dragons. Like, you think you would have learned something from that. But it seems like Cersei didn't know anything. So that's kind of sad. When the bells ring, Cynthia, you want to go?
Those scorpions that you were talking about, that's what I was going to tell you a while ago. They were able to turn around, but they were so big and so heavy that it took like 5 people to turn it around. So I don't think they were turning the boats. I think they were turning the scorpions themselves. But they were so heavy that it was difficult.
No,
and I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you, though, also, that if Dany had acted like if she had been on guard, I think that somebody said that she just forgot about Euron's fleet. You're up there going back to Dragonstone. The episode before that, when she lost the dragon, like you say, none of that would have happened. She wouldn't have probably become the Mad Queen had it not been for the loss of Rhaegal and Melisandre. Whatever her name is. Missandei. Yeah, I agree with you.
Even Dan and Dave don't know how to pronounce her name. They called her like Mihande or whatever. It was messed up. Like, the way they pronounced her name and the into the episode thing. Like, I want to get upset. Like, they fucking Dan and Dave.
Yeah, they say something like Missandei or something like that. I don't even know about those two. I barely can stomach them for more than 2 minutes. I start wanting to throw things at my TV and going, no, that's a gorgeous, really expensive TV. Don't do that. But I swear those two, like I keep saying, they don't know what they're even doing. And, I was listening to a little bit of an interview that the actor that plays Bran did, and he was explaining like how the director and he come up with their own scenes, and like that's why he stared at the Night King for so long, because he had empathy for the Night King because he was about to die. And it's like, what? You changed things with the director just because he thought that the Night King might be sad or be a man still, and like the Green Seer should have feelings for him. Come on. Like, really? So I don't even know where Dave and Dan are half this time, if they're even there, if they just write it and then the director goes off and says, let's do this or that or whatever, and because I know that the actors do sometimes influence the scene, like Jason Momoa influenced the scene where he ripped out Mago's tongue, and then, Mago comes back and 2 books later to take Dany hostage. So it's like, oops, sorry, we shouldn't have killed him off. But, so I don't know. I just am kind of leaving them out of it and trying to see that the fact they still did it right. I don't even think they know they did. So I liked what you were just saying. What I heard was about the scorpions, and was it this season, this episode or last, where Euron said, hurry, swivel it around. He was giving commands to his guys to swivel it. So like, what's the deal? Now you hit Rhaegal 3 times. And it was just like, oh my God. But what I did notice that I liked was, and I don't know how in the world Dany learned this, but I guess from the Night King, but it was really her family that would go way up into the sky and dive bomb, you know, so I don't understand how she learned this, because she wouldn't read anything or do anything to figure out the past and history and what anyone had done, except for listen to Viserys, who didn't really know anything about what he was talking about either. I mean, you know, I think he sort of made most of it up just to make her hate everybody, which seems to have worked well. And then let's see, what else did I hear you say? Did you get to Euron and Jaime yet, or were you just talking about the fleet?
I was just about to talk about Euron and Jaime. If you want to go there, you can go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that I found it kind of like, I also read that the actor playing Euron was like, I think he read the books and went, God, I wish I could play that Euron, not this Euron. And he's right. The Euron in the books is so badass. I don't think I've loved a character like that that's so evil. You know, I just love Euron. I love him. But I kind of like the way Pilo Asbæk plays him. I like him. He's a good actor. And so I just thought it was funny. It was so much of the way Euron is in the show, where he's going, I killed the Kingslayer. I killed Jaime Lannister. But I guess he didn't. And now that takes like everything from Yara, you know, it takes like everything from everyone who's ever encountered Euron. And why he wanted to kill the Kingslayer, I don't really know. What was the big deal? I guess just Cersei, which it doesn't ring true for me, because it's not how it happens in the books. But I guess he was just so proud that he killed the guy with one hand that couldn't make Cersei happy anymore, and he died thinking that was his baby. So, but I loved that fight. I think a lot of people didn't like it because it was pretty nonsensical, but I got a kick out of it just because Euron would not die, and neither would Jaime. But I still think, how long did we take for Euron and Jaime to fight, and for the Clegane Bowl finally? Thank you very much. Now can we say how annoying the Clegane Bowl is? I don't know. I just feel like I feel like just screaming from the top of my lungs, like, now do you all get it? No Clegane Bowl for 14 minutes. I noticed that's how long it went on. And I did love the Hound trying to kill him, but I knew he was never going to be able to actually do it because he's dead. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so I won't go there yet. But I just find Euron kind of entertaining. And so I did like, you know, them just like stabbing each other in places that there's no way you'd even get up again, stomach and all this, but still getting up and just keeping going for each other. It was kind of funny. Other than that,
I'll jump in.
I don't know. I don't really have much more about that.
When it came to like the Euron and Jaime fight scene, I hated it overall, but I found what they did with Jaime was hilarious. It wasn't supposed to be hilarious, but it was. He kept using his metal hand to do stuff, right? Like he hit him in the throat, and then he backhanded him with his metal hand. Like, it was so funny, and it wasn't supposed to be funny, but it so was. Right? That was so funny.
I was
going, yeah, Jaime figured out the hand.
I figured it was going to fall off eventually, the way he was whacking with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good scene. It was a funny scene, but it was like being stabbed in both your kidneys. Like, come on, get out of here. Like, it was, you wouldn't have survived, buddy. Like, the way they made it look, like it almost hit his spine, right? Like, wouldn't you be paralyzed? That would have made things interesting for him to go out like Tyrion, and for him to like almost drag himself, like for him to slowly lose his body, right? To be actually crippled, right? To like actually, because he calls him crippled in the scene, right? I think that would have been better, but What is? I also don't believe that Euron would make it to shore, especially with a dragon flying around and lighting ships on fire. Like, yeah, right, get out of here. It was just.
I agree
Yeah.
with that, and especially the fact that he landed right there where Jamie happened to be at. You know, it was a good brawl. They had a good brawl, but it was a little too coincidental.
Totally agreed. It's kind of the same way that how did he find Missandei last episode? How in the world, did he find her and get her in chains in the Red Keep before anyone else even got off the beach? I don't know.
Okay, hold on. Yeah. Okay, that's like when Arya and the Hound are walking up, right? And the guard asks, like, who are you? And Arya's like, I'm Arya Stark, right? Like, you don't even know who Arya Stark is. She just basically saved the North, and you're supposed to be a Northman, and you don't know who Arya Stark is. But yeah, like, it's fucking so stupid. Like,
yeah, I thought that was kind of funny too. I mean, like, you should know who Arya Stark is, and she says she's going to kill the queen. Just let her in. She's a Stark. I mean, he should have been there in the north.
But the Arya and the Hound, like when they were walking up to King's Landing, they had a boss walk. Like, it must have been like hella fun filming that scene. They were like, and he had the hood on too. It was just like
I know.
so boss. Awesome.
I love that. I was like, the hooded man, finally. Here we go. We've got Jamie and the Hound just like sneaking right past everyone. Very odd, but cool. I do have to say the Hound and Arya were very cool.
Even the woman behind them told the little girl, said, follow them, because you could tell that they had authority in their walk. They were making progress through the crowd, so they knew who to follow, but they didn't make it either.
Yeah, that was. Do you have something you want to say, Steffi? Go ahead if you do.
No, I think we're on track when it comes to seeds, like Hound, Arya, basically Gregor and the Hound. Yeah, we're on track. Basically, we're good. I was just making sure.
Okay,
I was just looking at my notes.
So now we're at where Jamie goes up to Cersei. And the Hound strangely makes it there with Arya before Jamie does after the whole
had to go around.
fight, or after Jamie does after the whole fight scene and all that.
Well, Arya and the Hound went in before the gates closed. Jamie didn't make it in, so he had to go in the back way. That's where he was supposed to come out at.
Right.
That's what I thought anyway.
Yeah, he did. He had to go up through Tyrion's little escape route. So
okay, I'll jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the Cersei and Qyburn scene, right? He's like, basically, we're fucked, right? Everything's dead. We're fucked. Just deal with it. He brought up Maegor's Holdfast. I do like this scene because after Ned Stark dies, this is where Sansa is thrown in. See, again, I'm a Sansa character, and this is where she tries to commit suicide. She contemplates it constantly, thinking like, "Oh, I might as well just jump," right? And it's also true. I think it was in the Duncan Egg novels, or not the Duncan Egg novels. The Dance of Dragons book, the Queen and whatever, where Helena Targaryen, she's the one that actually threw herself off, right? So I found that very good. I also like how Tommen finds the bad cat here in the end, or the pre-release of a Dance with or pre-release of Winds of Winter, right? Where he sees the bad cat, and this is where basically Arya is, and the Hound tells her to go home. And this is kind of like Syrio Farrell kind of telling her, basically, what do we say to death, not today, right? I like that. I feel like Arya listens to certain people, right, when it comes to this. When it comes to death, right? He's like, look at me, girl, right? Like, I just like that scene. It meant a lot. I wish there was more Sansa and Hound scenes, but I guess George R. R. Martin doesn't want to spoil that. The mountain's strong. You're talking about like thousands of pounds of castle falling on him, and he's a beast, like a beast. Like that's so scary. I would be like, oh yeah, go. You can do whatever you want, buddy. Do whatever you want.
Did you see him drop his armor like he all of a sudden like that? It was just like, oh my lord, this is right off the TV and that Grandma used to watch on Saturday and Sunday nights. You know, the I don't know the wrestlers and all. He jerked that off. It fell off of him all of a sudden like that. And then the Hound, you know, whoa, he did get a good view of him. I like the staircase part of that. And Cersei, him not listening to her. I've always thought that Gregor had a crush. Gregor had a crush on Cersei all his life because he's been basically their boy all his life, you know. And that's why he's always been so loyal to her and does whatever she wants him to do. But I was kind of proud of him for banging Qyburn and killing Qyburn and letting her go, you know, facing his fate, because he didn't know that the Hound and him were fated for that, I guess. So, but it was a heck of a fight, wasn't it, girls? I didn't think he was ever gonna die. Go ahead.
I do find it fitting that Qyburn died by his monster. I do like that. It's Frankenstein. He was just like smashed, done. You're an idiot. I don't feel the way that you do about Cersei and Gregor, the Mountain. I don't feel like that. I feel like this whole episode has been vengeance and hate trump everything. So I feel like that's what it was. That Gregor hated his brother, right? And he went out the same way. There was a nice shot in this of where the dragon is going through, like you see this dragon overhead and they're looking up, and then you see the sun as well. Again, that goes to Bran's vision of the sun. I thought it was going to be Jaime because he says white sun or whatever in the books. So I thought that was going to be Jaime, but I guess not. It was just the scenic view of the sun. I find that Dan and Dave kind of do know it, but they don't really know it. So they're kind of ad-libbing this with the scenic shots more this season with the prophecy. That's how I'm trying to piece it together now. I'm like, when I go reread the books again, I feel like I'm going to look more for the scenic views now instead of the more literal, right? Like the people and their actions. I do like Hello Big Brother. That was good too. Sorry. You can go, Ash.
No, it's fine. I was just agreeing with you, and I had my mic on. But I mean, you know, I've made fun of the Clegane Bowl forever and ever, and I'll stop now because I actually did love it. I loved the way that the Hound just kept stabbing him and dive, you know, and he just kept stabbing him and nothing. He'd pull out the sword, his eyes got a knife in it. I mean, it was just insane. But I did like how it came full circle, and, you know, the Hound starts out with his face getting burned by Gregor, and then he actually, in order to kill him, has to go into the fire with him. So I like that. And I loved the way he just smashed Qyburn against the wall, because it was totally Dr. Frankenstein. Like, you made a monster, you dumbass, you know? And I liked how Cersei just kind of snuck through there, like, excuse me, really quick, before this all goes down, I'm gonna run. That was kind of great. It's like, I don't think he's protecting me anymore. I think now the hound's here and he might kill me too. But then I just loved the scene with Arya and the Hound, and I agree. I'd always love more with them, them walking in, what he said to her on the map that Cersei made, where he's like, look, do you want to be me? Do you want to be like this? And that seemed to hit her, like, ooh, I don't know if I do. And that goes back to the scene at the Blackwater with Sansa. Your father's a killer, your brother's a killer, and now Arya is a killer. And I think she sort of doubted that a little bit this season, this episode, where she was just like, God, this is what real killing looks like. And I don't think I want to do this. I want to start trying to save people now. And I feel like that's the Stark in her, and that's the Stark in Jon. It's not fire and blood. It's the Starks take care of people, And I also do like the fact that it came around to King's Landing, where it started with Aegon landing there, building Aegon's Holdfast and all of that, that just like in the Lord of the Rings, how the ring, started at Mount Doom and came all the way back around. And if it weren't for Bilbo's mercy, not killing Smeagol, Gollum, he wouldn't have been there in order to fall into the crack and drop the ring down, right? So, or for Frodo to get to have the ring go down. So the thing about that I love is that George is sort of doing it the same way with the cyclical world, but we've got so much great story in between that, when Arya turned around and ran, that's what I thought of too, because she could hear him, she could hear the Hound, and she was just running for her life, but she could hear him for a minute. And it seemed the same as Serial Pharrell, with her listening to him. Is he dying, or did he get away, or what? And then what was the other thing that I wanted to say was I was sort of glad that we saw the mountain, but I didn't think, we all had these grand ideas of what the mountain would look like, and that he'd have Robb Stark's head on and everything. And I'm actually glad that he didn't, and that we saw him, and that it was still the mountain, because otherwise, this is what I was thinking about the Clegane Bull, is that why would he care? He's a dead thing. He wouldn't even remember the Hound. But if you reanimate him, and not reanimate, because he's still really alive, I guess. In a way, he was still alive, and so he still retained his memories. So he did, go, oh, here's my brother. I gotta fight him to the death. So I liked that. I loved the visual of them going into the fire together. I thought that was beautiful. I really loved that. Just the Hound going, fuck it, I can't kill you, but I've got to kill you no matter what. So I think, for me, the moral, I guess, if you want to say it that way, or what we should take away from this, is the things that resemble our world so much, because I believe this is about our world, at least the books are, and our history, is that, sometimes we look at powerful leaders as an incredible, inspirational thing. And sometimes we need to look at who they really, truly are before we make these decisions, and before we decide to follow blindly people. We need to understand what's going on, because there was a lot of modern day put into this episode. Like, you want to follow the tyrant? You really want to live under a tyrant? You want to live under a dictator? I'll show you what it's like, and we're kind of going through that right now. in the world, all over the world. So I like that part where it really did make you feel like, okay, yeah, always look, always question. Never stop reading, never stop questioning, never stop rereading, right? And look closer. So, yeah,
I
I'll let
just want to say I'm very thankful that we live in a world where we have a choice. These people had no choice. There was nothing there. And as far as the Hound fight and Arya, I really liked the way they paralleled the Hound falling and Arya falling. What happened to the Hound and what happened to Arya, and that that was really touching in a way. I mean, I like the way that was done. And, in the end, I hope that she becomes a source of comfort to people instead of she's been set up to be the stranger. And the whole time, I've said it before, her arc is basically to become the stranger. And if she does make it, and we're not guaranteed that she's going to make it, and if she's going to have to kill the dragon and Cersei, I mean, Danny, that takes me back to the uh, Torrhen Stark. Wasn't he the one that bent the knee? And his brother got the three weirwood um, branches to make arrows out of them. Now, who's to say if they had it in their mind that the weirwood branches would kill the dragon? Um, who's to say that that might come back again? But I thought that was when Arya was riding away. That's what I thought of. She needs to get her some weirwood arrows. Anyway, that's what I thought.
Yeah. I, okay, to piggyback off Cynthia for a moment, I think Arya is going to be the stranger. She's not going to remember anybody. She hit her head too hard. Um, I think that's the bittersweet ending. That she's not going to remember. I think that would be the worst. Because doesn't George R. R. Martin's wife likes Arya, right? That's his favorite, right?
right. And
So
David Benioff's wife, yeah.
Yeah, they both like her.
so like for me, if I'm gonna piggyback off that, I'm gonna choose that. Yeah, Arya's so screwed up now. As for Ashley's point about the dictatorship, I don't, or the and Cynthia's the free will. I think these people had a choice in free will. They chose wrong. Both sides chose wrong. They both chose Mad Queens, right? Because those were the only options given
Right.
to those people, right? It's like you're screwed if you do, you're screwed if you don't, right? There was no other option. Varys tried to make another option, but I don't think John would be any better. He would be a lackluster leader. Like no one would follow John for the love of John outside of Tormund, but Tormund's a drunk idiot. So like I don't really see the point, right? I like Tormund as a character, har, but like just yeah, I don't see any love for him. Right? He's got my favorite laugh in the book. He's like har.
I got to
I
defend
love
my
the
point,
horror.
Effie. I got to defend my point here a minute, if you don't mind.
Go.
The small folk of King's Landing grew up there. Their shops are there. Their whole life is there. And they've been through battle before. They did when Tyrion did the wildfire in Blackwater Bay. They went through all of that. They survived because they never imagined the amount of destruction that the dragon would bring. You know what I'm saying? They've survived all kinds of battles and all, even in this series, with Stannis.
I
The small
disagree.
folk did.
I disagree.
Well,
With
we'll give
Stannis didn't even breach the gates, eh? So they know nothing. They're ignorant as Egret was said. You know nothing, right? They're stupid, right? They don't know the true ramifications of their actions. It's like if you were to be attacked as an actual person, all your training could go out the window in that very moment. You know what I mean? Like people take self-defense classes and then it just vanishes and when they actually get attacked, right?
That's
And
true.
the in Robert's Rebellion, King's Landing was sacked. Everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Cersei says the Red Keep's never been taken, it's been taken.
Yeah.
Tywin went in and
Yeah.
his people raped and murdered. You're talking about Gregor Clegane and Sir Lord Clyme Maegor's Holdfast, raped Elia, smashed her baby's head, and then killed the other kid, whatever her name is, Rael or whatever. But like you're talking about, this has happened before. Like you're stupid to go back. Like, and you could say that they're illiterate and they don't know better, right? And that's the fault of the people. And I guess I kind of favor Baelish on this because I think in the books he does say that he wants people to like have an education and stuff. Like he does want them to go to the Citadel and basically have like an education center, right? So
Mm-hmm.
but like you can't be that stupid. At the end of the day, it's either you go to one side or the other. You have to know the ramifications after Highgarden and after Castle Rock. Like you have to hear these things as rumors. You can't be that stupid. Like even word to word, like you can't be that stupid to be like, oh, I'm gonna go to Cersei, right? Like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Like it doesn't make sense to me. Like you can't be that stupid, right?
But
Like
she had never actually burned cities or
she blew
stuff
up the
to the
theft
ground.
of Baelor. What do you
I'm talking
mean?
about Danny. I'm talking about Danny, baby. Danny. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you baby. It's just habit. But you know, Danny, she come in there and just wiped it all out. Now I lost my train of thought. What were we going on now?
No, but like you're saying that they shouldn't trust Finn. They have no reason to not trust her, right? But like I'm saying that both
Well,
of them are bad choices. But you're talking about the person that did the most damage previously to King's Landing was Cersei. She blew up the Sept of Baelor.
true,
She had the attack of the
true.
Battle of the Blackwater. That's because of herself and her children, right? Like
Yeah,
you were gonna
that's
rebel
true.
against this person prior to this. Why are you not gonna choose at least the semi better option and flee King's Landing? Like it makes no sense to me, right? Like
Well,
Danny's
okay,
a crazy loon, but
it's well, I relate it to like people in the in the Gulf Coast, Katrina, living here where I live, where the hurricanes come, California, where you've got the fires. You know, there's only so many places you can move, and then this is my home. I stay here, but I'm not in fear of. You don't never know what's going to happen here either. But that's what I'm talking about. The poor people. I'm on a fixed income, and so I understand. That's where I'm coming from. Not the fact that they can pick up and move. Not everybody could pick up and move. We're able to. That's what I was saying. And they were uninformed. You're
hold on.
right. You're uninformed.
You're equating this to a natural disaster, and it's not a natural disaster at all. This isn't a flood. This was a choice by the people. They had free will, and you're talking okay, really into migration and immigration and everything like that. People leave with nothing. They don't leave with their flipping passports. They walk across countries and they go on boats and they
True.
sell their bodies just to get to the safe land. Like what you're saying is nonsensical. It is because people have choices and it's either you live or you die, right? Who would you choose to in that moment? Who would you choose, Danny or Cersei? It's very basic. And okay, and if you can't move outside the walls. There's a whole open field there that was Drogon was just sitting on. With
Yeah, well,
when
now I
Missandei was going to be killed, just go outside the walls and be like, I give up. I'm innocent. Right? Like, go play
agree.
neutral. Go play Switzerland. Right? Like, don't
Well,
no. You're giving too much
I
credit to
was
shit.
wondering. Well, I was wondering why all the people outside of the walls decided to come into the city when they know there was going to be a battle there. And I do understand that they could have left and until it was all over with. You're right there. I agree with that. But
Well, it was
Danny
I
came in
just
as a savior. She was purported to be a savior and better alternative to.
They chose
that's the
wrong.
key right there.
They chose wrong. They like, it's their fault. They chose. Right? I'm not gonna like tough shit. Like, I'm sorry to say that, but like if you know like a nuke's coming for you, you're not gonna be like, oh, look how pretty it is. Like, you're not gonna do that. Like, that's so stupid. Sorry. Like, you could call yourself a
I
literate.
agree. I agree with both of you in a lot of ways because I mean, what I'm watching right now is a big part of the country I live in seeming like they want to live under a tyrant, sort of wannabe tyrant. And it's just amazing to me. Like, go try and live like that, guys. Have fun doing it too, because I'm not going with you. But, the other part of it is that, like you said, they are illiterate. They are, but there is something to be said with the fact that, scorpions are being built along all the battlements and, obviously something big is coming. You might want to even, make a little tent city a few miles away or something. I don't know, but you're right. It's not like there's some kind of, nothing that you can see coming. I mean, obviously they're preparing for war, but Cersei did take advantage of that. She took advantage of their illiteracy and their inability to really know what's going on and told them to come into the Red Keep and thinking that that's how she would say, oh, look how awful Daenerys is because she'll burn the Red Keep and she'll burn all the people with it. So it was, her idiocy at the same time as Daenerys's horror was that, and this is where I kind of love this episode is because it's kind of showing all of us at the same time as all of the people ending. You thought it was so beautiful when she birthed these dragons. You thought it was so beautiful when she survived a fire where she burned all the crones who had all the wisdom, where she was by custom supposed to go. That was all so beautiful. But no, it was scary and it was evil and it was wrong. And she has now pretty much wiped out civilizations and, a whole the capital city of Westeros and most of the Dothraki. She's at least taken them from their lands. They're an pretty ancient race, And I feel like it's kind of something going, you guys should have seen this for a very long time. I mean, she did spear all those people. She did try to rescue people she had no business rescuing. She did try to take over the Khalasar when they were never wanting to follow a woman and never would. I don't even know if they actually would still in the books. I don't know. We'll see. But I think that the whole point of it is that, Cersei and Dany were both so selfish that they really didn't give a shit about the people. And Dany purports herself as this, paragon of virtue who's going to come in there and take care of everyone and free all the slaves. And, Missandei's only got her collar left. So basically, she was still a slave, I guess. That's how she saw herself because that's all she had. And, even Grey Worm might have because he changed his name. So, and now he feels like a big war leader, which he is, but it still wasn't, this is the right and wrong. I think the gray areas of the right and wrong. It's not good and evil. It's the gray areas of the people dying in the streets, of the fact that it's mostly women and children and innocent families that don't really know any better. I mean, I don't know how easily those people could have been able to tell, except for the ones going into the Red Keep, what was really going on. Because I mean, you see people building scorpions. I guess maybe somebody might know, hey, once there was dragons and maybe we ought to get out of the city. But I don't know. I really don't think people would think, oh, dragons are coming again. So I feel like it's this, like, almost to us, like, you really thought this was going to be bittersweet, like, the Hobbits? No. It's George R.R. Martin style. This is like, it's death and destruction and war and how horrific it all is. So I guess, it's kind of funny to me that all I got from this was, like, wow, we all read this so wrong, so wrong. Anyone saying, oh, I love Danny, I don't understand why people don't like Danny. Well, that's why, is because I know there are a lot of people who felt this, of like, this girl's insane and she's going to go off the deep end any chance she gets. Also, when you brought up Arya hitting her head, it made me think of the scene where Bran goes back and watches Brandon and Ned and Benjen playing at swordplay when they're at Winterfell and younger, and Lyanna comes in on her horse and starts riding around them. And in the books, it's Lyanna that says, I'll ring your head like a bell, to, I think, Benjen when he falls in the pool, and she's like, what, you want old Nan to come and yell at us? Shut up. And in the show, I think it was Ned said to Benjen, I'll ring your head like a bell. So that could refer to Arya. I don't know. Oh, that's a good question, Cynthia. Is Bran having... I like that. What you put anyway. So, what was the other point I wanted to make?
What I said was that Bran may be having Sansa build scorpions in Winterfell while it's this last episode, if not before.
Could be, because like, this is what I always think about Bran, is that why would he's a green seer. I think war is the last thing he's going to get involved in, because he is kind of the heart of the world, the compassion of the world, the memory. And maybe this is why he likes to live in the past more than he likes to live in the present or anywhere else, is that it's nicer, it's a lot less violent in the past than it is now. But let's see, what else did I have here? Just that we're not quite there yet, but you brought up the white horse that I think was probably Harry Strickland's horse. And I like the way that tied in, because I was always trying to figure out, and I've been making fun of the fact that Harry Strickland was the one leading the army, because he's nothing like the Harry Strickland in the books. But he was on a white horse, and I don't know how in the world this horse got in there, if it was his horse. But the point is that
that horse was blown away, and when the gate went, it was another horse, a bloody horse.
Yeah, I thought it just went down, but you're probably right. I mean, I didn't really see if the horse got up, because whenever a horse goes down, I'm like this. I can't take it, because I love horses more than anything. And I've had horses for so long, so I can watch most things, but I can't watch a horse be taken out. So I didn't watch. So if you say, then I believe you. But what I found interesting about the horse was that there's one of Shakespeare's it was actually his most hated play. It's called A Winter's Tale. And in that story, there's a white horse that it's kind of like It's like a Pegasus. It can fly, and it's called the White Dog, and the White Dog's been used a lot since then. And they actually made a movie out of a Winter's Tale with Colin Farrell, and they did a good job, and Russell Crowe. But I felt like that was the white dog, this horse kind of like that comes mystically to save the person who needs to be saved. And this horse was standing there in the I love that movie. It's a great movie. If no one's seen Winter's Tale, see it. It's fabulous. So it was like the white dog to me. It was like, oh, here I said the white dog, for Arya. There he is. And she just like knew. I was waiting for him to bend his leg down and bow his head so she could get on. It was just, I thought that was beautiful. And I know Georgia uses Shakespeare a lot, so I thought that was really cool. And
I
that's
thought it
really.
was,
Go ahead. That's all I had to say.
Yeah, it was reminded me of Revelations, and here comes the pale horse, and on its back is death. And that's also in the movie with
right.
About White Earp. I think there's some reference to it in that as well. But yeah, it's apocalyptic. It is an apocalyptic symbol in the book of Revelation. So yeah,
that's right. It is, and that's perfect because Arya is or was maybe before this death. I don't know if she will be anymore. What do you think? I think this was her experience with death that she couldn't take.
Yeah, here in my notes, I said this is the first time she looks scared, and all I'm thinking is of Dany's like prophecies in the House of the Undying. In the books, anyways. Mother of Dragons, Daughter of Death, Mother of Dragons, Bride of Fire. Right? Like that's all I was thinking. Right? And I still think Arya is gonna be forgetful. She's gonna be so traumatized and like messed up. Like she has brain damage. I don't care what anyone says. Like you get hit in the head twice in like a span of 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
I think on the actual filming, Emilia Clarke did have a concussion. And she said it was like the worst painful feeling ever. And she's like, I never want to do it. Like, never have that experience again, right? So, I feel like, yeah, Arya's messed up.
I've had a couple concussions. They're awful. And you do start to lose your memory. Yeah, you do.
Okay. I don't know where you guys were. Okay, so
I think you might have missed something that I brought up about what you said about Arya and her bumping her head was that it made me think of when they were at Winterfell as kids and Bran was seeing it in his vision. And Lyanna says it to Benjen in the books, and in the show, it's I think Ned saying it to Benjen. I'll ring your head like a bell.
Oh.
And Arya is supposed to be like Lyanna. So maybe you're right.
That's
I like that. It ties in.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. Look at that. What did I have here? Holding. This is to the debate that Cynthia and I got heated into. So this is where the scene where like I'm saying the either or option, like you have to play Switzerland, is when Dany tries to save Nora and her daughter, and she fails epically. She can't drag a kid because she is a kid. And they died.
Dany. You said Dany tries to save the kid. It's Arya.
Yeah, Arya tries to save this kid. Sorry. So she sees the mother and the daughter burn, and it goes back to the Hound and how last season he saw the father and the daughter. And all I'm thinking of is Arya's mom and dad are both dead, right? So technically she's been involved in like 2 deaths without really being a partisan in it, right? And I have here the daughter is crying for her mama, right? And then another person asks Arya, "Do you know where my wife is?" Right? Like all these like little things are kind of poking Arya, right? It's like you got to remember, right? Like you're human, right? Like you're not death, right? You can't go killing people all the time. Like you have to smarten up. And I feel like this was it. This is Arya's thing. I do have a question though. Do you think Dany's eyes are blue or green?
That's the weird thing. I mean, aren't they supposed to be lilac? But they're
In
not.
the
They're blue. I thought they were
books,
blue.
in the books, they're supposed to be a lilac, the purplish, dark, dark purple is what I thought. So, but I don't
I
know in
thought
the
hers
shows.
were
I
supposed.
think they changed it in the shows.
Maybe she didn't want to wear the contacts. I don't know, but they should have because that's silly. I thought hers were lighter because Rhaegar's are dark indigo. I'm not sure on that though.
Yeah, when you're doing the comparison of like eye colors, it says John is hinted at being thing because Rhaegar's darker purple eyes,
Oh,
but Dany
right.
has a lighter eyes. But Viserys is like he's kind of in between, right? So regardless, I still think Emilia Clarke's eyes are blue. They're not green.
No, you're right. They are blue. I've actually noticed that many times and never really gone, wait a minute. What's happening here? Don't you have some lilac contacts? Come on. I mean, you would normally just or some, but do it right. I mean, I guess they didn't tie in any of the Empire of the Dawn or any of that, even Rhaegar's eye color. But I don't even know if they mentioned that Targaryen's eyes are purple. I really don't. But what do you think about the three heads of the dragon? Do you think we're going to see anything to do with that prophecy, or I mean, we've heard the Prince Who Was Promised prophecy and Aemon's take on it. What about the three heads of the dragon?
In the books, like I think Vagon does have like Targaryen-esque genes, not necessarily like full blown, like even like intermingled with like not even a half blood. He's basically like a lowly bastard of some other house, right? That like went to Pentos and
Right.
Essos and sailed everywhere. I don't think he's in anybody, right?
Yeah.
But I do think that's the three heads. But like in the show wise,
Tyrosh the Blackfire. Yeah.
yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
But like they
Yeah.
haven't kept being pure because they've been exiled, right? So like I'm saying like he's like a quarter Targaryen or whatever, or 1/5 or whatever it is, right? I'm not go talk to someone
That's
else
true.
that has like those genetic things where they like
That's very true, though.
I think you're right on that.
It's very true, though, because I think the Dothraki Khal Drogo was supposed to have almost more Targaryen blood than Dany did.
What?
Right? Or, I mean, I'm sorry, not Khal
I
Drogo.
never heard
Brown Ben
that.
Plum. I don't know
Brown
why I said that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Dany. Brown Ben
Yeah.
and the Baratheons, too. Sorry. Just think Dany Khal Drogo. But
What are you drinking?
one more
I want
thing
some of
that oh, I'm drinking yummy wine. Anyway, I guess yeah, I guess we covered it, ladies, did we?
I think so.
Well, and there's a few more points I want to add in there. I didn't really talk about a few things. What is it? Mountain versus the Hound. Hello, Big Brother. I think. See, this is again where the prophecies don't necessarily mean who you think they mean. Right?
Mhm.
Wrapping my
Right.
pale hands around your throat. Like it could be the Hound, technically, right? See, like that.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
agree with that. Yeah.
Yep.
I did like the scene of
What?
Yeah, he
Arya
certainly
getting.
lifted them up.
Sorry, hold on.
Are you getting what?
Oh, I was gonna let Ash speak. Okay. So I did like the scene of Arya getting like buried, like stampeded on, because that reminisces to the Battle of the Bastards, right? Where Jon is almost buried in the battle, where these people are escaping where he was fighting. I like that contrast. I enjoyed it. What else did I have here?
But look at this, though, Steffi. You've got 3 people that have been in that same type of filming that have all been in some type of way the good guys. Danny was a good guy. She went through the Misa Misa thing. Uh, John, and he almost got buried in the Battle of the Bastards. And Arya, she got, almost got trampled in King's Landing. So that, they just throwing things in there. And like I said before, it's like a shell game. And after what Danny did, I don't know, like I said earlier, I don't know of anybody who would want to even follow anybody with any Targaryen blood. They may not even want John after what Danny did. I mean, that might sound bad, but maybe John could go up north and retire or whatever. But I don't know what's going to become of it, because whether she stands or whether she dies, it's still got a mess ahead of them. And that was my point.
But I do agree with Cynthia. I don't think anyone's gonna want to target. She's my queen. You're much as fault as what happened here right now, right? It's just like Vera said, right? So yeah, John's not gonna get the throne. He can't have it, right? No.
I hate those lines with John saying, "She's our queen. She's my queen." It's like, oh, please, would you stop? You do know nothing at all. But the thing is that I was thinking of is that Danny is the daughter of Ares and John's the son of Rhaegar. So it might be a little bit different to the people because they did love Rhaegar. I don't know how they feel now with Robert's story about him raping Lyanna over and over again, but I don't know how many people, I mean, we're talking about like the Golden Company who are like exiled 60-year-old men by now who would know that.
Well, they didn't
I don't know how many people.
last long, did they? They was wiped out in a heartbeat.
I feel like
Yep.
the only person that can come in and validate John's claim to the throne is Howland Reed, and they're not going to do that.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
Right?
what I thought too.
No one's
No
going to
way.
believe Sam. No one's going to believe Bran because, like, what lunatic lives in the past, right? And Sam just learned it in a book, which he could have made himself. Yeah.
No, I think Citadel's got the original copy of that book.
Yeah,
Gilly
it is.
stole
It's
the
in the
book.
High Septon Diary.
He stole a book, but I don't know that was it, because that was the same book he was fussing about having so many steps, and the maester taking so many craps and things like that. So he may have dismissed it and not even. Evidently, he did dismiss it because wasn't even thinking about it until Bran brought it to his mind, and it was Gilly that found it, by the way.
You're right.
So,
And yeah, you're right
Yeah, but you're
there. I
talking
think
about a bunch of. Sorry, Ash. I'm gonna just jump in here. You're
no, it's
talking
okay.
about a
Go ahead.
bunch of. You're talking about a bunch of illiterate people, right? You're talking about they believe the Night's King is fairy tale, right? You think they're gonna believe the North? They're not even gonna believe the North, right? They're not gonna believe the Veil. They're not gonna believe the Dothraki. It's like this is all so superficial, like bullshit. It is. Like, who's gonna believe you? Like, unless someone is actually there to be like, yeah, I saw her hold John and then pass him off and then be like, oh yeah, this is my son Aegon. Can you give him a
Well,
false name and
you're
take him away?
probably right. You're probably right. But
Unless, it's
by
the
the same
Citadel
token,
because it was
it's really worrying Danny if there wasn't some fear of it. You know, she she could
yeah.
deny like a lot of people. Well, I know.
I wonder about the Citadel and how they're going to feel about Danny, and I mean, obviously they're not going to be too approving of what she's done. Plus, they don't like the Targaryens much either because of their marrying practices and all that. But if this information did come from, as we know, this is silly, but the High Septon's diary at the time, it was non-existent, but we'll forget about that. The High Septon's diary is where it came from. So I guess if the Citadel were to let it out to lords, that was kind of the point I was going to make earlier that I forgot, is that the Septons only teach, lordlings and the children of high nobles. So they're the only literate ones, really, and that's why, is because they get septons and maesters. So maybe if, it went to someone who could spread the word, I can't even think of like who would be left besides like, God, I don't even know like who. I mean, it's now the kind of the next generation, but it could come
Sansa,
from somewhere in the Reach or something like
Sansa,
that, or from Sansa, yeah, or from
Sansa
the
has
Vale.
Sansa has a large claim. River Run, the Vale, the
Yep.
North. She's got a large claim. And after what Cersei did, who's to say that she wouldn't prevail? Um, Especially with some help from the rest of them. But you kind of saw when John left um, Ghost the other episode, you know, their fates are linked with their direwolves, and I believe they are all five, six of them, I believe. And even though John bonded with Rhaegal's gone. So
Right.
is that a say that maybe John's going to be gone too before it's over with, or both of them going to die? We don't know about what's going to happen next week. But it's the end, and it's the very end, and I hate to
Yeah.
see it go.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, it could be something where, like I was saying before, like Tolkien, where at the end it's really not all that happy. The bittersweet ending is that they are still alive and that they still go home, but they're haunted forever and they've lost most of what they've ever known and loved. So the Shire's still there and things like that. So maybe that's kind of like Howland Reed in the North. Like, I don't see Howland Reed leaving his floating castle for this stuff and putting himself in the middle of all this. And I don't know if they'll deal with Edmure at all, or if they'll just leave Edmure in the wherever he's being held still. I don't know who's got the twins. I don't know who's got anything. So I don't know where Varys would have been sending those except for to whatever lords there were left. There has to be some left in the Reach and in the Stormlands. I mean, maybe one went to Gendry, and with Gendry's love of Arya, maybe he will raise up against her.
See,
There is
this
one thing. Go ahead.
this is the problem with the show. Like
Yeah.
they said all these people pledged themselves to Dany. Where are your fucking armies?
I know.
Right? Like the Prince of Dorne
They don't.
supposedly
Yeah.
pledged yourself and then you're nowhere to be found. Like fucking walk up and do your shit. Like, oh god, I fucking hate the thought process. Like, seriously, if a crazy Asian is gonna watch this in the future, please do an animated version of this. Like, so I'm whatever. I don't care how racist it is. Like, just do it. Put it like The Hobbit, like the movie The Hobbit. Okay, it was one of the best versions of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Like, it was just awesome to have that side, right? Like, you need it for this.
Yeah, I keep saying, where's Peter Jackson when you need him? But, I mean, I guess it's one of those things where it's going to be like, since Varys sent the letters, or wrote the letters even, and since Jon, now at least someone knows, besides Tyrion and Sansa only, and Bran, who, I don't know how Bran could tell anyone. And there's no one left in the show in the Weirwood net, so it's not like Bran can really do anything. But I guess if Sam left the Citadel and took books, so I don't know what it's going to be except for this military state, and then the lords say, we're not following you, we're not doing this again. And they raise up Jon, and it's all I can see.
Well,
Little Jon just does.
they
Retreat
may
back
not
to the
want
north.
any Tard. They may not want any Tard after this. I mean, if
right, like you said, yeah,
50 chance. They're the last of them. Everything. I'm a dinosaur. I'm practically going to be extinct within the next probably 20 years. So,
don't say
or
that.
my life is. But you know what I'm saying? These sometimes change brings about the destruction has to come before the change. Now, with Dany being the way she's acting now, she's not going to be the benevolent queen that she was in Essos. And I can't see it. I think she's too far gone.
What would be okay? I got a little hunch going on here. What would be really nice to do was the way Ned Stark died, like the way he was beheaded. Okay, so we all know Tyrion's in deep shit for letting Jaime go. Obviously, Dany has to know that. And she said this is your last failure, basically. So I have a feeling if Arya hates her so much, and they go to like the Sept of Baelor, right? Like this, what's that? Yeah, the Sept of Baelor, right, where the statue is and everything. And
the Citadel.
the one that's Black and White, or what?
The steps of Baelor. It's a statue. It's in season 1 where Arya was with Yorn, and she's hiding herself. If Arya's in that same position again, and she sees Tyrion about to be beheaded, she just goes up, because that's what she wanted to originally do in the first place, is to kill that person. And if she kills Dany, then that would be a good way to end it, because then it would harken back to season 1 where Ned Stark died, and it would be like another innocent person getting killed for no apparent reason, for speaking the truth, basically. Yep.
What if it's Jon?
I like that.
What if it's Jon being executed too? Because did you see the way that Grey Worm looked to him when everybody put their swords down and they kept after they kept on? Grey Worm looked at Jon like he was a traitor right there, then and there, for not keeping on going. They had him whipped. Why keep going? And so you don't know who's going to be behind in front of the dragon. I started to say behind the axe, but in this case, it's in front of the dragon.
Right. The one thing I thought of is, how George flips things. I almost wondered, because we always look for Queen Elizabeth and Sansa, right? What if it's John and he's lost, like Queen Elizabeth lost her main love, which was John's Egret, but then Dany was kind of sealed the deal for him. Don't know if he's going to want to love anybody again. So he could actually fill that role. It's just that he would have to be almost propped up by any lords that still exist, or with, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you'd get the wildlings down there and everybody that's left in the north to fight. I don't know that it's going to be a fight. It might just be a political thing this time. And we've always thought Tyrion's going to do something different. Like, he respected the Night's Watch so much because they were kind of democratic, So maybe it could be something like that, where they just say, we're not going to follow you. Get out of our land. I don't know, because then you've got like way too many Unsullied and Dothraki left. So it might just be not a bittersweet ending, but a bitter ending of the fact that evil does triumph if you don't have enough people who are good. That would be unsatisfying, though. I'll say that. I mean, there's one thing that I did find that Tolkien had written, that says that the victory, let's see, he said he doesn't think Frodo's failure was a moral failure. Moral failure can only be asserted, I think, when a man's effort or endurance falls short of his limits, and the blame decreases at that limit when that limit is closer approached. It's no more a moral failure than a breaking of his body would have been, say if Frodo was crushed by a falling rock. So, like, if the paragon of virtue is Ned, pretty much. So if John, he's obviously failed, but it wasn't a total moral failure. He's still held back enough that he's like kind of checking himself still. So I really don't know how it'll play out. I just can't really see it.
I don't agree with Ned Stark being a very virtuous person, because you're talking about his two major lies in the book, where it's about John, and then the next one was to help Sansa to like get her off, right? To say that Stannis wasn't there, right? Those were his two biggest lies in the whole book, and it caused like it caused all of this, basically. Like, you're an idiot.
It did, but it was to protect John, wasn't it? I mean, it was all to protect Lyanna's son, But, I mean, yeah, he's not a complete paragon of virtue, no. But I think
that was for love, right? That's for love, though,
yeah,
right? So it proves the point that John won't do that. Love. If he learned anything from Ned.
Yeah. Exactly. Ned protected him, sacrificed his honor, and even though nobody knew it, Ned knew it, and it haunted him all his life, I do believe. But yeah, you've got a lot of it is going back to first season.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways, because what was it Tyrion said to Jaime when they found out that Bran was still alive? You do me a disservice, brother. You know how much I love my family. And so that's carried on all the way through. So, I don't believe Tyrion's gonna make it, and if he does, it's gonna be some kind of something if he does, because I got a feeling she's not gonna forgive him like she did Jorah.
No, I don't either, because she loves him and he spurned her.
Hold on. So wait. We're talking about a woman scorned right here, right? Like Dany's
Yeah.
woman, and then Jon. I don't think she'll do anything to Jon. I think she's so in love with him. Like it's kind of like a Romeo and Juliet. If one dies, the other one's gonna die, whether that's emotional or not.
That's one thing that I was thinking about. Could be the bittersweetness of it all. Is kind of, we've seen this twice now. Once where Tyrion and Jorah were in the Sorrows, and they were repeating the poem from I think it was Homer. No, yeah, about Pompeii, and saying let's turn our backs, and the world will become ash. And now Jaime and Cersei sort of died the same way. Look at me, and it's sort of the same feeling. So maybe it'll be that she's just now destroyed everything, and he's got to kill her, and then he's got really no chance, because if he kills her, the Unsullied and Dothraki.
Okay, let me say before I forget it, and I probably have forgotten it. Jon, no, I did forget it. Never mind. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Hold on. I'm thinking here. Okay, I don't know if you guys are like history buffs. Who killed the Queen of Scots? I forget who killed her.
It was
Elizabeth.
It was Elizabeth.
So Sansa's gonna kill Dany.
That's what I think. I mean, it's sort of like, yeah, either Sansa or Jon. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Hold on. Who wants who to rule? I don't know who you guys want to rule. I don't think I've ever
let me get this out before I forget it. I was unsatisfied with the fact that Tyrion did not tell Jaime that Jon Snow is Aegon's son. That would have brought the story around much better, I thought.
You're right.
Because of the werewood dream and all of that. It would have brought all of that to full circle to me. Okay, I'm out of here. That's what I was going to say.
That's so true.
But during Jaime and Tyrion's scene, Tyrion was already talking to Jaime in the past tense, right? Like, I think there would have been no point to tell Jaime. I don't think so. Right? But it would have made sense. I get that, right? The Kingsguard and protecting him, and then going to fight with him in the north. Yeah, that like it would have made it more of a circle. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Would have made me feel a lot better too,
It would, in the end that he did go to the north, like you say. He did defend the north, and he did fight for Rhaegar's heir. So I thought that at some point that Tyrion should have told Jaime about it. I mean, what's the point in keeping it from him at this point, or anybody? He's going to die soon, and he knows it.
Oh yeah, I agree. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see how they decide to end it. I can't see it right now, except for mixing it with history, and I don't know if they're gonna do that or not. I don't know what they'll do.
I'll be mad if Sansa's not queen. I'll admit that right now. I'll be really mad.
Because I kind of like that too.
It's just, it doesn't make sense. There's a few things I missed. I just want to do it quickly. Mountain almost kills the Hound as Oberyn Martell, right? So basically,
yeah, exactly.
I found that a little stupid. I did like the parallel, but like the thing is, I don't like how he just took a dagger. Like, oh, that's all Oberyn needed was a dagger to stab the mountain with. Really? What else did I have here? Oh, the Jamie and Cersei, their last moments. The music was beautiful. It was like a sad oh, the Lions song. That was really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, the Lannister song. It was Cersei's song that they came out with a couple episodes ago, where she started wearing black, or a couple seasons ago.
Yeah, it was so beautiful. Like it just, I don't know why. It just no, something was different with this one. It was like more slow. It was like it was so
Yeah.
It was too sweet almost, like too painfully sweet.
Yeah.
I do
Her
like
performance was awesome.
Sorry, Ashley.
Lena Headey, she was great. I was just gonna say Lena Headey was awesome in that scene. I loved her. That's all I had to say.
Sorry, I'm trying to unmute. The other scene I liked Lena Headey in was the scene where she's looking at Jamie when they first see each other. It's almost like they think each other are already dead. It's like
Yeah.
It's like they look at each other and they're not really like processing it properly. And then she's like, "Oh my god!" Right, and she starts bawling her face, right, because she doesn't realize it. I love that scene. I when I'm comparing actresses' scenes like to previous seasons, I think Lena was better last season compared to this season, but I like Emilia Clarke way better this season. Like that girl gave everything she had to this final season. Emilia Clarke, like just crazy bonkers. Pale hands around the. Sorry, Cynthia.
I just said I agree with that.
Okay, that was awesome. Yeah, I don't know why, but like I don't think Jon deserves anything. Maybe Tyrion. I forget his name. He deserves something. Pale hands. I thought maybe it was Gregor. Yeah, I think I've brought that up already. And then I also the horse. I found Danny's first gift from Khal Drogo was a white horse. That too. And then I like the reference to Arya and Lyanna in that moment too, where they're both good with horses. But that's it. That's all I had. That was like my final thoughts of everything. Book gone.
Well, we done. I think we're gonna have to split this one up in half again too. I never got around to splitting the last one in half yet, but I think we've covered everything. What do y'all think?
Yeah, we covered it pretty good.
Yeah. I'll let y'all say yeah.
I think we did.
Guys, and we'll sign off here in a minute. And thank you to the chat, everybody that showed up or watches it later. We really appreciate it. We enjoy doing this, and I really appreciate these ladies. They really come through. Okay, y'all go ahead.
Thank you, Nan. I appreciate you so much. I love you both to death. And thanks to the chat. Thanks for Steffie for bringing most of the chat this time. And love you all. We have one more left, and so I'm gonna miss you all. But we'll see you again for book stuff. So just looking forward to next week, and thanks for being here.
Oh, hi, Andy. Thanks for coming by. You literally popped up the last moment. Hi. Yeah, thanks to everyone who came up to show support. Justin, Tyler, I see Spots, Sean. Who else was on here? Someone else was on here. Yeah, people. Hacker Spawn. I miss Plexi. Big shout out to Plexi. I miss you. Yeah. And we'll see you next time.
Miss you, Plexi.
Cheers.
For sure.
Okay, this is Old Nan, and we are the She Wolves of Winter, and one day we'll have our channel back. Y'all have a good week, and we will talk next week about the finale, Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 6, The End. But is it? Good night.